Please like and subscribe.
Action. Finally, Sean and I eagerly awaited a climax for one of Andor's story arcs in Season 2. On May 6th, we gained 2 climaxes in only 3 episodes. We'll celebrate the series' return to form next. Welcome to Galactic Initiative. I'm your host, Jeff. If you haven't finished the 9th episode of Andor's 2nd season, many things in this video won't make sense to you. Spoilers ahead. Before I pass the mic to Grand Admiral Sean, allow me to praise Andor for the first time all season. I'm thankful for the climax of the Gorman subplot. It was an epic struggle. I'll need time to fully process it, but my initial reaction ranks Episode 8 as best in show.
That's high praise.
No mention of the transport raid or Cinta's death in Episode 6. Sadly, the writers skipped the tipping point on Gorman. In short, Dedra's plan worked. The Empire framed the Gorman front and seized control of the planet. The events unfolded like Marva's Funeral 2.0, superior to the riot on Ferrix in my estimation. The Empire didn't tolerate dissent, and its iron fist smashed Gorman in terrifying ways that never developed on Ferrix. The chanting and singing, the impending violence, the desperate characters, the traps set and sprung, the chaos and fear. Andor has depicted the Empire's wickedness better than any other Star Wars production. The Gorman situation was hopeless for those trapped in the plaza, and the Imperials slowly, sadistically killed without distinction. Yes, Virginia, there is evil in the galaxy. After experiencing the calamity, one hates the Empire for its horrifying mixture of malice and indifference. No arrests, no prisoners. The galaxy received news of another terrorist attack. Chilling for all the right reasons. A feast for the senses. The flurry of visuals, the cacophony of battle, everywhere sights and sounds. The cinematography perfectly conveyed the script's tone and theme. Amidst the interesting supporting characters in this pandemonium were the reporters, Imperial Captain Kaito, the hotel clerk, and Caro Rylance. Propaganda in news broadcasts, a novel idea. Kaito was an Imperial commander from the original trilogy mold, callous and efficient. The hotel clerk from Episode 5 was a spy for the Gorman front. Rebellions are built on hope, he told Cassian. Caro's avowed pacifism and rough handling by Cyril in Episode 7 arranged a clever twist in Episode 8. He'd seen enough of the Empire to hate Cyril, but his ethics prevented him from using violence until he endured the ruin of his culture. Have you ever heard the tragedy of Deputy Inspector Karn the Naive? Cyril's earnestness couldn't reconcile Dedra's manipulation. He felt guilty for his role in Gorman's destruction, and foolish for his trust in the Empire. The choke was out of character. Dedra always asserted her authority in the relationship. Her submissive response, including pleading, perplexed me. I was confident in her ability to manipulate Cyril through his blind spots. She should have known duty and honor, not promotions and rewards, motivated him. The betrayal was complete before the violence in Palmo Plaza, so I believed his reaction until he put his hands on her. Nevertheless, 2 excellent performances. Credit to both actors and the director. I appreciated the slow return of Dedra's composure, a brief but poignant scene. During such moments, Andor shows its quality and maturity. I wasn't fond of Cyril's death. He came to a fitting end based on his fixation with Cassie. And again, he saved Dedra in the midst of a riot. His tenacity must have compensated for his deficiencies, because he wasn't a match for Cassian in a fistfight. I expected circumstances to interrupt their confrontation. Cassian's inability to identify Cyril was a smart touch. Cyril's lingering obsession was Cassian's forgotten moment. Dear viewer, was Cyril's death meaningful in your opinion? Was he a villain? Let me know with a comment. I'm nonplussed about the decision. A critical observation. The power of KX security droids creates problems in the lore. On the one hand, why wouldn't the Empire build more security droids after seeing their effectiveness? I was reminded of the original Terminator film. On the other hand, why would the Empire build any battle droids after the Clone Wars? Palpatine avoided associations with the CIS. Fast forward to Episode 9. A Rebel tech reassembled and repaired Cassian's salvage from Gorman, and we witnessed the birth of K2SO. I'd hoped for more time with the droid, but better late than never. K2 is a favorite of mine in the saga. I could continue to praise the Gorman climax, but in the interest of time, I'll advance to Mon Mothma's harrowing departure from the Imperial Senate. I really enjoyed the heretofore unheralded involvement of Cassian, Luthen, and Kleya. The trio prepared for these moments, and though they didn't see eye to eye, they facilitated Mon's escape when the odds were against them. The news from Gorman reached Coruscant. Gorman's senator was arrested without cause, and Mon decided to break her silence about Palpatine's oppression. She spent 2 days in the Rotunda to write and voice her famous speech, and arrange an extraction team. The tension was high, a bit convenient due to forged credentials, locked doors, and broadcast feeds, but also a bit ingenious thanks to clandestine meetings, distrust among allies, and Imperial spies. The scenes recalled espionage thrillers like Munich, Argo, and No Way Out. Viewers couldn't fully grasp the layout and timing, a strategy to keep them on the edges of their seats. The filming and editing increased the sense of pressure. Ultimately, Mon chose Cassian as her escort, and Cassian delivered her to safety. His anxious competence from Rogue One emerged. Diego Luna excels at bringing this energy to the screen. Genevieve O'Reilly was suitably frightened and determined. Make it worth it, Cassian instructed her as they parted after their daring flight. Words to live by, sir. Every day, make it worth it. What happened to Mon's family? Perhaps we'll learn their fate next week. Odd, after the wedding arc that insisted we pay attention to them, Mon didn't once express concern for Perrin and Lita. She didn't demand their evacuation or refuse to leave without them. After 4 episodes of silence, a mention of Tay Kolma. No clarity about his disappearance, but clear frustration from Mon to Luthen. One line was all we needed. Did Cinta crash his airspeeder into a mountain on Chandrila? Due to the 1-year time jump, Yavin 4 was operational when Episode 7 began. The logistics and operations required to establish a secret jungle base with advanced communications and freighter access was not in evidence over the preceding 18 episodes. In fact, the opposite was shown to us. A bridge from disorganized to organized, using visual check-ins and/or expository dialogue would have helped. Erskine Samaj was a good character. In hindsight, I think the series would have benefited from more of him. Chloris goes down. Mon's driver suffered a lethal blast to the chest from Cassian. Another example of veiled intention to heighten suspense. I expected Cassian to kill Chloris, but I didn't expect Cassian to kill Chloris on sight in broad daylight above the Senate parking garage. Vel noticed the Preox Morlana logo on the handle of Melchi's blaster. Cassian stashed it on Neamos, retrieved it after Narkina 5, and gave it to Melchi when they split. Years later, it became Melchi's voucher at the Rebel base on Yavin 4. Hence my expectations of Andor. I was hard on the first 6 episodes of Season 2, because I knew the creators could do better. Episodes 7 through 9 are proof. Finally, Bix. Her subplot came to a jarring conclusion. Old Cassian was still planning to quit despite all the lessons learned from Kenari to Gorman. When will he turn the corner to committed rebel officer in this series? Bix's abandonment might have done it. We'll find out next week. Sadly, I haven't enjoyed her arc from the beginning. Her Dear Cassian video just confirmed my lack of emotional investment. Okay, Grand Admiral Sean, your turn.
Once again, I concur with your astute analysis of the episodes of Andor. We are now in the triumphal stage of Season 2. I'm very much happy with what's going on with the show. I feel like the slow burn at the beginning is finally paying off. The action, the drama, all of the stuff, it's hit at peak excellence. So I'm here to praise Tony this week, Tony and crew. I don't really have any real nitpicks per se. There's maybe 1 or 2 little things, but again, not to sound like a broken record, but I feel like those things are really just a result of the fact that we've compressed so much story into such a short time. There's just a few little connectivity kind of issues, but I think it probably has to do with editing more than anything else. So I'm not going to really dive into that on any deep level. Really, when I walked away from these episodes, watching them, I did have to kind of sit down and think about it for a minute. It was a lot at once. The events on Gorman, we talked about some parallels between first season and second season, and one of the things about Gorman is this is the Empire not only showing how evil it it truly can be. But it's showing they've kind of learned their lesson. Ferrex was sort of a reactionary event with minimal planning or foresight. It was kind of Dedra stepping in and saying there's a thing going on and we're going to have an operation there and we're going to try and find this Axis fellow and then find Andor. And it all went horribly wrong. And we're seeing sort of the fallout from that now. The Empire is way more circumspect in how it goes in oppressing the planets that it has its design set on. And it's much more nefarious and working in the shadows and it has a lot of sort of CIA elements to it, a lot of statecraft and backing the rebels against somebody and setting opposing parties against one another in such a way that you can create favorable conditions on the ground for whatever your overall mission is there, whether it's natural resources or money or something else or territory, whatever the case may be. And so again, this whole thing has come to fruition. It's the moment, the violence, and we see some very interesting things in these episodes, with our main characters. A lot of the veneer gets stripped away from like Cyril and Dedra and even Cassian to a certain extent. The scene where that really stuck with me, the whole scene where Cyril gets killed, spoiler alert, that whole moment there, that fight that led up to it, it's like Cyril unchained. He has sort of a break from reality, when he fully realizes the level of manipulation that's been occurring in Dedra and with the ISB and how he's basically the reason why there's going to be a massacre on the planet. And he kind of snaps and he chokes Dedra a bit and then goes out in the street. But when he sees Cassian and he gets in that fight, like, this is the first time we have seen Cyril really be dangerous. Like, he's been a danger, right? He's been a danger to himself. He's been a danger to a lot of people. But, like, this is the first time we actually see him truly dangerous. Like, he beats Cassian. Like, he has Cassian down, and he is about to kill him, and it's only by the intervention of one of the Gorman pacifists with a pistol that Cassian lives. But you see a man who's had everything taken from him again. This is Cyril's second go-around of self-destruction in a way. But the way that scene is played, and just nothing to live for except his revenge on Cassian in about 5 minutes. He goes from having a partner, I guess, for whatever you want to call it, that relationship that he and Dedra have, and all these promotions and all these opportunities in the Empire, and it all just goes down the drain in about 5 minutes. And then he's clawing back a little bit of his self-respect and dignity by beating this person who took everything from him, took his job on Orlana, and that just gets taken away from him too. So it's a sad and terrible end to the character of Cyril, but not undeserved. You had asked a question about whether or not Cyril's really a villain. Cyril is kind of the villain in the sense that, of a mid-level technocrat is a villain. Maybe he realizes he's been part of something that he shouldn't have been a part of. And I think that's kind of a way they're trying to play Cyril, because Cyril's a law and order guy, and he's about safety and security, and he was never really inside the Empire in a way. He's always been desirous of being an insider, being a part of whatever imperial governance or law enforcement, whether it be the ISB or something else. But he never quite got into it. And then when he tried to have his own initiative and do his own thing, try and track down Cassian, he gets run out of being a security officer. The ISB takes over, and he basically gets kicked out of any chance in the Empire. And so now he's worked his way back into it, but he's still never really fully in the fold. And so he's manipulated not only by Dedra, but by extension, the whole Imperial apparatus, Partagast and the ISB. Is he a villain? He engages in villainous things. He's manipulated and used by other villains as a tool. And I guess the level of whether or not he's a true villain, I guess, depends on how much he knew and how willing he was to go along with the things once he knew about them. And I think that there is some gray area there, because there's some relationships on Gorman that he builds that are not fully fleshed out, and I think those may have been edited for time. So we don't know if he started developing sympathies for Gorman, or if he developed a true conscience when he realized that he was the outside agitator that everyone said he was looking for, or that he was trying to set up, or that he was trying to draw out. So again, I don't know. He clearly didn't choose the right side, and he's made a lot of bad decisions that ultimately resulted in his death. I don't know if I call him a villain. I think he's just a misguided individual, and a willing, well, maybe I don't know how willing, but a mostly willing pawn in the game. So a bad guy, yeah. Villain, maybe not. Again, it'll be interesting to see what ultimately happens now that he is gone. I believe this is gonna have ramifications for Dedra's character in the final arc. She's either gonna go completely stone cold killer, or she's gonna continue to have doubts and panic attacks and things like that, because she'll feel some measure of responsibility for his death. I think we're pretty much done with his mom at this point. The whole Mon Mothma scenario with the escape from the Senate was really well done, where we know the end of everything. The fact that we can still feel the danger for these characters that we all know are going to survive to the end of the show, and obviously into the film Rogue One and into further lore of Star Wars, to still be able to feel some kind of tension and fear, like, are they going to make it out, and all that kind of stuff. And, being able to forget the fact that exactly where this is all going to be is a testament again to the writing and acting and directing of the show. These episodes look amazing. Everything about them is fantastic, and the story is just fully hit its stride. So no complaints of merit or of note. And a few other praiseworthy things. The characters now, as they're all coming together in this rebellion, and some of the callbacks to season one of the things that we noticed was the blaster that Cassian has been carrying, or was carrying for most of season one, has shown up again and has reintroduced us to Melshi. So in season one, the Morlana Pleasure Zone, when Cassian offs the two cops, he takes the pistol, he uses it to shoot the cop, and then he carries it with him throughout the show, and it winds up going to Aldhani, and that's where Val sees it, and then he takes it with him, he puts it in his box with the money, and then it kind of gets lost for a while, and then he goes off to prison and comes back, finds his box, and then ultimately he gives the blaster to Melshi at the end of season one, and they part ways, and you don't really think about it again. And then here in season two, we get the scene where they're gathering all the new recruits on Yavin 4, and Val recognizes the pistol again, and then we get reintroduced to Melshi, and it's like, when you first watch it, you don't even really pick up on it. You don't really, if you weren't really paying deep attention to this, you don't know necessarily why she picked up the pistol. She picks up this blaster, she looks at it. There's clearly something significant about it. She rubs the side of the gun. I don't know if it exposes the logo or if it polishes it up or whatever. But there's some kind of marking on it. And then she asks who the gun belongs to. Now, if you don't remember the first season, if you don't go back and watch, you might not remember the gun. But then you see Melshi, and you're like, oh yeah, Cassian gave him that. But then you forget that gun was from episode 1 of season 1, and it's carried through, and now it's showing up again, and it's this thing that people recognize and unites the characters in such a way, or connects them through these things, that these moments of reflection or recognition, like when Cyril and Cassian are having their fight. Obviously, Cyril knows who Cassian is, but then Cassian doesn't know who Cyril is, and there's all these things. The writers, of these two seasons are really paying attention, and they're really crafting, excellent narratives, and they're putting in these callbacks, and they're putting in these things that are showing you how all this universe connects and how all these stories connect. And this is something that's been missing in a lot of the Disney streaming. So I just wanted to mention that as one example of some really excellent stuff that's going on in season 2. So here we are now. We're 3/4 of the way through. Tony has redeemed, the show. Like, we started off, we were all a little shaky on the first 3 episodes, and I hope that there's a few things that we have left that were shown to us in the trailer. We need to see what happens with Dedra in the antique shop. We need to see what's happening with these tactical ISB soldiers. And there's a couple of other little things. So there's going to be more action ahead. I can't wait to see where it ends. But I salute you, Tony, and I look forward to your next installment.
Galactic Initiative is not authorized or endorsed by Lucasfilm Limited. The name Star Wars and all related materials are registered trademarks of Lucasfilm Limited, a subsidiary of the Walt Disney Company, all rights reserved. Galactic Initiative is a registered trademark, and other product and company names are trademarks of their respective holders. Use does not imply affiliation or endorsement.